You know that feeling when you check your bank account and technically you have money, but emotionally, you still feel broke? Like, there's $847 sitting there, maybe $1,200, maybe even $2,000. But one unexpected bill, one car repair, one medical expense, one family emergency, one slow work month, and suddenly, that money disappears like it was never real. So, you keep working. You keep saving a little. You keep telling yourself, okay, next month I'll finally get ahead. But somehow, every month feels like you're just climbing out of the same hole. And then you hear people online saying things like, just invest your money. Just start a business. Just buy assets. Just make your money work for you. And you're sitting there thinking, with what money? Because when you only have a few $100s saved, money does not feel like a tool. It feels like oxygen. You're not thinking about building wealth. You're thinking about surviving Thursday. But here's the thing. There is a specific point where money starts to feel different. Not because you suddenly become rich. Not because $10,000 buys you freedom forever, but because $10,000 changes the way you think, the way you move, the way you handle problems, and the way you see opportunities. That number is not magic, but it is powerful. And today, I want to explain what I call the $10,000 rule. Because for most people, the first $10,000 is not just a savings goal. It is the line between financial chaos and financial control. My name is Jack. If you're someone who feels like you're working hard but never actually getting ahead, make sure to hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Look, most people think the life-changing money number is $1 million. And yes, obviously, $1 million would change things. Very insightful, Jack. But here's what most people don't realize. The first $10,000 can change your behavior more than the next $100,000. Because going from $0 to $10,000 is not just about adding money. It is about removing panic. And panic is expensive. When you have no savings, every problem becomes a crisis. A flat tire becomes credit card debt. A missed paycheck becomes overdraft fees. A family emergency becomes a loan. A bad job becomes something you tolerate because you cannot afford to leave. But when you have $10,000 saved, something shifts. You are not rich, but you are no longer financially naked in the middle of a storm. You finally have a jacket. Maybe not a luxury jacket. Maybe not one of those finance influencer jackets where they stand in front of a rented Lamborghini. But a real jacket? Something that protects you. Let's start with the psychology. When you have $0 saved, your brain lives in defense mode. You check prices constantly. You avoid opening bills. You feel guilty after small purchases. You say yes to things you don't want to do because you need the money. You stay in stressful situations because the alternative feels too risky. And the worst part is, you cannot think clearly, because financial stress does not just affect your bank account. It affects your decisions. When you're worried about money, your brain gets shorter term. You don't ask, what is the best decision for my future? You ask, what gets me through this week? And that is how people get trapped. They use credit cards. They take bad loans. They accept underpaid work. They delay repairs. They ignore problems until the problems become more expensive. This is why the first $10,000 matters. It creates space, and space is one of the most underrated financial assets in the world. Space lets you breathe. Space lets you think. Space lets you say, wait, is this actually a good decision? And that small pause can save you thousands of dollars. Now let's talk about the math. Imagine two people. Person A has $300 saved. Person B has $10,000 saved. Both people have the same income. Both people have the same monthly expenses. Both people get hit with a $1,200 car repair. For person A, this is a disaster. They might put it on a credit card. If that credit card charges around 20% interest and they only make minimum payments, that $1,200 repair can quietly become much more expensive. It is not just a car repair anymore. It becomes a monthly payment. It becomes stress. It becomes interest. It becomes another reason they cannot save next month. But for person B, the same $1,200 repair is annoying. Not fun. Not exciting. Nobody is celebrating at the mechanic. But it is not a crisis. They pay it. Their savings drops from $10,000 to $8,800. Then they rebuild it. Same emergency. Completely different life experience. That is the $10,000 rule. Money does not just buy things. Money buys options. And when you have no options, life gets expensive. Here's what most people don't realize. Most financial disasters start as normal life events. A car breaks. A phone gets stolen. A rent increase happens. A medical bill arrives. A client pays late. A job cuts hours. These things are not rare. They are part of life. But if you have no cash buffer, normal life becomes financial trauma. And that is where people start making desperate decisions. They borrow from the wrong people. They use high-interest debt. They cash out investments too early. They sell things they need. They take jobs they hate. They make decisions from fear. But when you have $10,000, emergencies become inconveniences. That is the first big change. You still feel the hit, but the hit does not knock you down. Think of it like a boxer. If you have no savings, every punch drops you. If you have $10,000, you can absorb the punch, step back, recover, and keep going. That is not glamorous, but it is powerful. Now, you might be thinking, Jack, if I'm struggling to save $1,000, how am I supposed to save $10,000? Fair question. And honestly, the first $10,000 is usually the hardest. Not because the number is impossible, but because at the beginning, you are fighting two battles at once. You are fighting the math, and you are fighting your identity. When you have never saved serious money before, saving feels unnatural. You may even feel like money disappears, no matter what you do. So when you start saving, your brain does not fully trust the process. You save $200, then something happens. You save $500, then an expense hits. You save $1,000, then your brain says, great, now we can spend a little. This is why the first $10,000 requires a new identity. You have to stop seeing yourself as someone who is trying to save. You have to become someone who does not touch their foundation. That is a different person. The first $10,000 is not built by motivation. It is built by rules. Because motivation is cute for about 9 days. Then real life shows up. Now, I don't want you to think of $10,000 as one big pile of money. That can feel overwhelming. Think of it in 3 layers. Layer 1 is your emergency shield. That is the first $1,000 to $2,000. This money protects you from small emergencies, car repairs, medical bills, a broken laptop, an urgent family situation. This is the money that stops small problems from becoming debt. Layer 2 is your stability fund. That is roughly $3,000 to $6,000. This helps you cover 1 or 2 months of basic expenses. Rent, food, utilities, transport, minimum debt payments. This gives you emotional breathing room. Layer 3 is your opportunity fund. That is the money above your basic emergency needs. This is where things start to get really interesting. Because once you have stability, your brain can finally look for opportunity. You can take a course, buy equipment, move for a better job, start a small side hustle, invest consistently, negotiate better because you are not desperate. This is the part people miss. The first $10,000 is not just protection. It is the launch pad. Let's talk about work. When you have no savings, your job has too much power over you. Your boss can disrespect your time. Your hours can change. Your pay can feel unfair. Your workload can increase. And you may still stay because you need the next paycheck too badly. But when you have $10,000 saved, you carry yourself differently. You are not reckless. You are not arrogant. You are not walking into the office like, "Good morning, peasants." Please don't do that. But you do become calmer. You can negotiate. You can look for better opportunities. You can say no to bad offers. You can survive a gap between jobs. And that confidence can actually help you earn more. Because desperation is easy to smell. Employers smell it. Clients smell it. Customers smell it. And when you are desperate, you accept less. But when you have a cushion, you make decisions from strength. That is a massive shift. Now, here's where people make a mistake. They want to invest before they are stable. And look, investing is important. I talk about investing all the time. But if you have no emergency fund and you start investing every dollar, you may end up selling your investments the first time life gets uncomfortable. That is not investing. That is temporarily parking your rent money in the stock market and hoping life behaves. And life does not behave. The first $10,000 gives you the emotional stability to invest properly. Because once your emergency fund is handled, you can invest without panic. If the market drops 15%, you do not immediately think, "I need to sell because my car needs repairs." You can leave your investments alone. And that is where compounding gets powerful. Let's say, after building your $10,000 foundation, you invest $300 a month. If you invest $300 a month for 30 years and earn an average annual return of 7%, you could end up with over $360,000. But you only get that result if you stay consistent. And consistency is much easier when your life is not constantly one emergency away from collapse. This is where it gets really interesting. The $10,000 itself may not make you rich, but it helps you become the kind of person who can get rich. That is the difference. Now we need to talk about the danger, because reaching $10,000 can also make people act weird. The moment some people see 5 figures in their account, they start thinking, I deserve a vacation. I should upgrade my phone. I should buy a nicer car. I should finally reward myself. And look, I'm not against enjoying your money. Money should improve your life. But the first $10,000 is not a shopping signal. It is a foundation. You would not build the foundation of a house and then say, amazing, let's remove half of it and buy a couch. That is what people do with savings. They finally build a little stability, then they spend the stability. This is why you need a rule. Once your account hits $10,000, that money becomes boring money. It is not vacation money. It is not flex money. It is not I saw a deal online money. It is boring, stable, quiet money. And boring money is what keeps your life exciting. Because when your foundation is boring, your life has fewer emergencies. So how do you actually get there? Let's make this practical. First, pick a monthly savings number, not a fantasy number, a real number. If you can save $250 a month, $10,000 takes 40 months. That is about 3 years and 4 months. If you can save $500 a month, it takes 20 months. If you can save $1,000 a month, it takes 10 months. Now, you might hear that and think, that feels slow. But here's the thing. Slow progress is still progress. And most people stay broke because they keep quitting slow progress. They save for 2 months, don't feel rich, and stop. But the people who win are not always the people who make huge money. They are the people who keep going long enough for the boring plan to work. Second, automate it. Do not wait until the end of the month to save what is left, because nothing will be left. Money without a job gets hired by your impulses. So pay yourself first. The moment income comes in, move money into savings, even if it is $50, even if it is $100. The habit matters. Third, separate the account. Do not keep your emergency fund in the same account you use for daily spending. That is like keeping cookies on your desk and saying, I'll only eat them during emergencies. No, you won't. Move the money somewhere slightly inconvenient. Not impossible to access, just not too easy. Fourth, use windfalls wisely. Tax refunds, bonuses, gifts, extra freelance income, selling things you don't use. Most people use windfalls to upgrade their lifestyle. You should use them to upgrade your foundation, because one $1,000 bonus can save you months of progress. Fifth, attack the big leaks. People love to talk about coffee. And yes, small expenses matter. But the biggest savings usually come from housing, transportation, food, subscriptions, and debt payments. If your rent is too high, your car payment is too high, and your food delivery app knows your emotional schedule, saving will be hard. So don't just cut tiny things. Look for the big leaks. Here's a simple order. Before $10,000, your mission is protection. Build the emergency fund. Avoid high-interest debt. Reduce unnecessary expenses. Increase income where possible. Do not try to look rich. Try to become stable. After $10,000, your mission changes. Now you can start directing more money toward growth, investing, skill building, business ideas, career moves, better opportunities. But do not abandon the foundation. Keep the $10,000 protected, then build above it. Think of it like a video game. The first $10,000 unlocks the next level, but you still need to play smart. Let me give you a simple story. Imagine 2 friends, David and Mark. Both earn $4,000 a month. Both have similar expenses. David saves nothing because he feels like he will start later when he earns more. Mark decides to save $500 a month, no matter what. At first, nothing looks different. Month 1, Mark has $500. David has a nicer weekend. Month 2, Mark has $1,000. David buys a few things he wanted. Month 6, Mark has $3,000. David still says, I'll start soon. Then life happens. David's car breaks down. The repair is $1,500. He puts it on a credit card. Now he has a monthly payment. Mark has the same repair. He pays cash. Annoying, but done. A year later, Mark has rebuilt and keeps going. David is still paying for last year's emergency. Same income, different system. After 20 months, Mark reaches $10,000, and he is different now. Not because he is rich, but because he trusts himself. He knows he can set a goal and reach it. He knows emergencies will not destroy him. He knows he has options. That confidence is worth more than the number itself. Because once you prove you can save $10,000, saving $20,000 feels possible. Then investing feels possible. Then building wealth feels possible. The first $10,000 breaks the belief that you are stuck. Here's the real reason everything changes after $10,000. Before $10,000, money is mostly defense. After $10,000, money starts becoming offense. Before $10,000, you are reacting. After $10,000, you can plan. Before $10,000, you are avoiding disaster. After $10,000, you can pursue opportunity. Before $10,000, you are asking, can I survive this? After $10,000, you start asking, what can I build next? And that question changes your life. Because wealth is not built only by earning more. It is built by having enough stability to make better decisions repeatedly. That is the hidden power of the first $10,000. It gives you enough room to stop being controlled by every emergency. Look, I know $10,000 can sound impossible when you are starting from zero. But every big financial change begins with a point where you decide, I am done being one emergency away from panic. You do not need to become perfect. You do not need to save it all this month. You do not need to impress anyone. You just need to start building the foundation. $100 at a time. $500 at a time. One decision at a time. And eventually, something happens. Your bank account changes. But more importantly, your identity changes. You stop seeing yourself as someone who is always behind. You start seeing yourself as someone who can build. Someone who can plan. Someone who can handle life. Someone who is not controlled by every bill, every emergency, every paycheck, every fear. That is what the first $10,000 does. It does not make you rich overnight. It makes you harder to break. And that is where real wealth begins. So if this video helped you see money differently, hit the subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and comment below, what is your current savings goal? Is it $1,000, $5,000, $10,000? Because wherever you are starting from, the goal is simple. Build the foundation first, then build the future.